Good morning, PASW clients, staff, and friends joining us. Welcome to Monday's class. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I'd like to get back into our routine of having a film scoring assignment on Monday and showing me your work and screening the results on Friday. So today will be a film scoring Monday class, and if we could just, if I could get them in by midnight on Wednesday, so by Thursday morning, the latest, and give you guys credit. We're having a little film composer, PASW composer roster, which is very, very fun for me and for us and for all of us in general. So we did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, right? Then we did Wizard of Oz last week. And there's another movie that I picked out that I think will be very fun. But before we get into that, because I think it would be kind of interesting to talk about, we've talked about orchestral music a lot, and John Williams, Jurassic Park. John Williams almost always uses the full orchestra for film scores. Now, there can be a jazz score, a small jazz ensemble score. There can also be, and this is, today I kind of want to introduce electronic music. Now, there's electronic music film score. That's a whole genre in itself. And I know a lot of scores today in movies are scored with electronic music, and this all goes to the scene we're going to be scoring later, which I'll show you at the end of the class. But I also want to introduce you to somebody who's really important, and he was born Walter Carlos, but he transitioned, so it's a transgender composer, Wendy Carlos. Wendy Carlos is still alive, born in 1939, and if it's a name you don't know, it's fine, but she came up with something really brilliant. She, first of all, she's really brilliant. So Wendy Carlos studied at Brown University and studied music and physics, okay? Then she got her master's at Columbia University in music composition. So she's playing around with electronic music. In the 60s, electronic music, it wasn't just putting in plugins and everything. You had a whole room of, I don't even understand, patches and synthesizers. It wasn't just, GarageBand, we can do that in 2 seconds. But what Wendy does, she starts using this thing that was very popular, the Moog synthesizer, created by Robert Moog. And when you hear the sound, you'll know what that instrument it is. It was very, very iconic, though, when it came out, because, so what Wendy did is that, and I think this was kind of an accident because it became a huge best-selling album. She starts recording all of these old Bach songs, Beethoven Bach songs, using this synthesizer. And this is really radical for the late 60s because, you got rock and roll, and then you got, but people weren't really listening to Bach that much. So she comes out with her first studio album called Switched on Bach. This album played a huge key role in bringing synthesizers to popular music, and because usually they would be associated with experimental music, right? But these are synthesizers she's using in popular music, and not just popular, but classical music too. Very cool that she did this, and we'll just hear a few of the pieces. Obviously, it sounds kind of like video game music, MIDI music, but I mean, for the 70s and it was really revolutionary, and people, it kind of brought a whole new breath of fresh air to classical music, because Switched on Bach, people were talking about this. This was like a new cool thing to be in, to be into. So she was truly revolutionary. And after that, she got a lot of attention, including from the famous director Stanley Kubrick, who used her music in two of his films, A Clockwork Orange and The Shining. And you can hear the influence of classical, only through synthesizers. So this is all prologue to our assignment for today. We're not going to do a Wendy Carlos piece, but I just wanted to give you a short little history of somebody very important using electronic music, and then the electronic music being used in Kubrick's films. So the scene we are going to score this week is either you've seen the scene and heard the music, or if you haven't seen the scene, you've definitely heard the music. It's famous. It's been spoofed forever and ever and ever. It's funny, but we're going to be talking about the famous music and the scene in the Chariots of Fire, the 1981 British historical drama film, based on a true story of these two athletes. And just take a look at the scene and you'll know the song. So here's what's interesting about it. It's very popular, right? I mean, people use it for anything. And it was composed by a Greek composer, Vangelis. He won Best Score for the Academy Awards. Here's the interesting thing about it. It's a period piece. It takes place in 1924 Olympics. Why would you use a synthesized film score? That seems like counterintuitive. Wouldn't you use music that sounded like the time, the 20s, jazz band or Dixieland or something like that? No, Vangelis says, I got a great song. I have a great synthesized way of orchestrating this thing using synthesizers. We're going to go with this. So, it's one of those times where it's like you think, sometimes thinking the most obvious choice is okay, but then you think, well, what if I flip it and do what's not obvious? That can sometimes lead to brilliance, right? Where doing something unexpectedly, where it's like, well, I should write period music for the 20s, but what if we do an electronic score for this? So it doesn't really make sense. Of course, it makes sense because it doesn't make sense on paper. When you hear it and see it, it's like, of course, this music is perfect for this scene of them running on the beach, and it bookends and the movie, so it comes in at the end too. But it's such a great song. It's hard to not. I'm sure the director was like, yeah, I mean, we got to use it. Sorry, I don't care if it doesn't sound like the 20s. So he writes a modern score for a period film. It's a bold departure, because usually period films have these huge orchestrations. We look at Out of Africa. That great score by John Barry. It's a huge sweeping orchestra, and that works beautifully. Here, it's just different. One's not better than the other. But I think what Vangelis did was kind of throw like a little curveball in there and say we can still use the synthesizer and an electronic score in a period film, and it's going to be it would. And the theme is just so iconic and used forever. So. Now that we know the theme, it's time to get the theme out of your head. So let's watch this. I've taken away the music, obviously. I've put in some running sound effects and some beach sounds. So take a listen to this. sounds a little different, right? So they're still smiling, but let's see if what you guys come up with. See if we can make something different. I mean, you can find something that sounds similar to the score, or you can go completely off the beaten path and go completely, have fun with it. It's such a catchy song, but let's try to score this one. This one might be a little tough because, but remember like last week we had kind of 6 different submissions, and all 6 were made the movie go off in a different direction, perhaps. And the same with Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So I can't wait to see what you guys come up with for Friday. So have it into me by Wednesday at midnight, and I'll score it and embed and then on Friday we can watch what you guys came up with. And I will post the scene after this class. Of just the assignment, so you don't have to watch the class again. So can't wait to hear what you guys come up with. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for participating. Honestly, the more you just either email me or post a link below and say, I want this in here, and I'll take care of the rest for you. So all you have to do is literally, find the right song, click on it, send it, and I'll do the rest. Okay, love you and miss you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I'll see you Tuesday for a very special class. Okay, take care. Bye.